Waltham looks perfect on paper. Commuter access, great food, solid schools, but living here isn't for everyone. Between the traffic, the noise, and the constant construction, you have to really love the lifestyle to make it worth it. Waltham sits right on the Charles River, about 10 miles from downtown Boston. It's this fascinating mix of industrial history, booming biotech, and one of the best restaurant scenes in the suburbs. But that same growth and energy comes with a price. It's busy, it's dense, and it's changing really fast. If you're looking for that perfect middle ground between city and suburb, Waltham seems like it should check every box until you actually live here. Depending on your commute, your budget, and your tolerance for activity, it can either feel like the best of both worlds or a little too much of everything. I'm Kimberlee Meserve, and I've spent nearly a decade helping people buy and sell across Greater Boston. Waltham's one of those places that comes up over and over again, especially with buyers who want convenience, character, and a strong community without going full city mode. So in this video, we're breaking down the real pros and cons of living in Waltham, from lifestyle and location to long-term value and who this city actually works for. Let's start with some context, because Waltham's identity is a big part of why people are drawn here and why some end up surprised. Historically, Waltham was known as the Watch City. It was a manufacturing powerhouse in the 1800s and early 1900s, producing watches and precision instruments. That legacy still shows up in the architecture and the layout of the city, especially around Main Street and Moody Street, where you'll see those old brick mill buildings that have been converted into offices, restaurants, and mixed-use spaces. Today, Waltham has transformed into one of Greater Boston's biggest biotech and life science hubs. You've got Thermo Fisher Scientific, which has its headquarters here, AstraZeneca, Boston Dynamics, PTC, Raytheon, and many other major employers, bringing in thousands of highly educated professionals. That economic shift has completely changed the demographic and the vibe of the city over the last 20 years. In terms of commute, Waltham sits about 10 miles west of Boston. You're looking at about 20 to 30 minutes into the city via 90, the Mass Pike, or you can take the commuter rail from either Waltham Station or Brandeis Roberts Station, which gets you into North Station in about 30 minutes. There are also MBTA routes like 70, 170, and 553, 554 buses that connect to Cambridge and Boston, although they are limited during off-peak hours. So if you work in Kendall Square, downtown Boston, or along Route 128, Waltham offers solid connectivity without the full city price tag. Now let's talk numbers. The median single-family home price in Waltham sits around $900,000, and condos around the mid-600s. Price per square foot tends to run significantly lower than Newton or Belmont, but higher than Framingham or Natick. So you're getting proximity and amenities, but you're not getting a deal. So it's clearly attractive on paper, close to Boston, strong job market, good schools, vibrant downtown. But the real question is, what's it actually like to live here day to day? Let's dig into the pros first. Location and access. This is Waltham's biggest selling point. You're right off of 95 and the Mass Pike, which means you can get to Boston, Cambridge, the airport, or even up to New Hampshire without backtracking through narrow suburban roads. If you work in Kendall Square or the Seaport, your commute is manageable. If you need to get to Lexington, Burlington, or Watertown, you're 5 to 15 minutes away. For families with two working parents or professionals who travel frequently, that flexibility is huge. You're not stuck on one train line or one highway, you've got options. Moody Street is the crown jewel here. It's lined with restaurants, cafes, bars, and patios, everything from Italian and Mediterranean to sushi and farm-to-table spots. You've got Solea for tapas, Tempo for Italian, Redbird for craft cocktails, Gustazzo for Cuban, and La Campagna if you're splurging on a date night out. On a Friday or Saturday night, Moody Street feels alive in the way that most suburban downtowns just don't. The energy skews young professional, it's lively, social, and walkable, but it's not rowdy college chaos like Alston or Cambridge. If you love being able to walk to dinner, grab drinks with neighbors, or meet friends without driving into the city, Waltham delivers on that front. And because of the biotech and university crowd, there's also a surprising amount of diversity in the food scene. You'll find authentic Indian, Brazilian, Korean, and Middle Eastern options, not just the usual chain suburban fare. Waltham public schools are solid and improving, especially with the brand new $375 million Waltham High School that opened in 2024. Several elementary schools have been rebuilt or upgraded in the last decade, and class sizes are reasonable, funding has improved, and the district serves a diverse, engaged community. It's not Lexington or Newton in terms of test scores, but it's a well-rounded system with strong facilities and family involvement. Beyond schools, there's a real sense of community here. You've got farmers markets, neighborhood associations, local events along the Charles River, and a mix of longtime residents and newcomers who care about keeping Waltham vibrant. If you work in the life sciences, pharma, or R&D, Waltham is basically ground zero. The job market here is incredibly strong, and it's insulated from some of the volatility that you see in other sectors. Even when the broader Boston market softens, Waltham tends to hold steady because of these anchor employers. That also means that there's a built-in network of professionals, ongoing investment in infrastructure, and a local economy that's constantly evolving. If you're in that industry, living here just makes sense logistically and culturally. One thing I love about Waltham is the variety. You've got beautiful Victorian homes near Main Street, post-war ranches and colonials, newer condo developments, and even some multifamily properties that work well for investors or those looking to house hack. There's something for different budgets and lifestyles, which isn't always the case in towns like Wellesley or Brookline, where the housing stock is more homogenous and expensive across the board. So there are big pros: location, lifestyle, schools, economy, and housing variety. But let's flip the coin and talk about the reality check, because there are some legitimate downsides that catch people off guard. Before we dive into the cons, quick pause, because if you are considering a move to Waltham or really anywhere in Greater Boston, make sure you download my free relocation guide. It breaks down commute times, hidden costs, lifestyle fits by neighborhood, so that you can make a smarter decision before you start touring homes. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below. All right, let's talk about the cons. Traffic and congestion. Let's just say it. Waltham has a traffic problem. Moody Street gets backed up constantly, especially during rush hour and weekend evenings. Route 20 is a bottleneck. There's always roadwork somewhere. And because the city sits at the intersection of multiple highways and commuter routes, you can really feel the volume. Even short trips like running to the grocery store or picking up takeout can turn into a 20-minute ordeal depending on timing. If you're someone who values easy, quick errands, Waltham can feel frustrating. And parking, well, forget about it on Moody Street during peak hours. You're circling blocks or paying for a garage. It's not Boston level bad, but it's not the suburban ease you might expect either. Noise and density. Waltham has city energy, even though it's technically a suburb. That means late night restaurant noise if you live near Moody Street, construction sounds during the day, and just a general hum of activity that doesn't stop. Housing is also tightly spaced in many neighborhoods. Waltham has around 5,500 residents per square mile, which is denser than most Boston suburbs. So you're not getting the big yards and privacy that you find in Lexington or Concord. If you have young kids or dogs and you want a quiet backyard to decompress in, Waltham might feel more cramped than you'd like. It's vibrant and walkable, yes, but that comes with trade-offs in terms of peace and personal space. Price creep. Waltham used to be the affordable alternative to Newton and Brookline. That's no longer the case. Homes that were selling in the $500,000 to $600,000 range 10 years ago are now pushing $900,000 or more, especially near the Charles River or close to Brandeis University. The competition can also be very fierce. Bidding wars are common, and because there's so many biotech professionals that are moving here with strong incomes and relocation packages, first-time buyers and families on a budget often get priced out. You're paying a lot for proximity and amenities, but you're not getting the same value per dollar that you might find in towns that are a little bit further west or north. Aging infrastructure. A lot of Waltham's housing stock is old. Charming, sure, but old. That means outdated electrical, aging HVAC systems, old windows, and deferred maintenance. Buyers love the character of a Victorian or a 1920s colonial until they get their first heating bill in January, or they realize that they need to replace the roof. If you're buying here, make sure you budget for updates. And if you're coming from a newer construction home in the suburbs, be prepared for the quirks and costs that come with older properties. Constant change and development. Waltham is growing fast. New apartment buildings, mixed-use developments, teardowns, and rebuilds. The landscape is shifting constantly. Major riverfront and flood mitigation projects are also underway, which means that you have ongoing construction in certain areas. For some people, that's exciting. For others, it's disorienting. If you move to Waltham because you loved a certain neighborhood vibe, there's a real chance that it will feel different in 5 years. Longtime residents sometimes feel like the character of the city is being diluted by overdevelopment and rising density. Change isn't inherently bad, but it's something to be aware of, especially if you value stability and long-term neighborhood continuity. So who should actually consider Waltham and who should probably look elsewhere? Waltham works great for young families who want solid schools and walkable amenities without paying Newton prices, professionals working in biotech, tech, or healthcare who value a short commute and proximity to job hubs, foodies and social people who love the restaurant scene and want that urban-suburban hybrid lifestyle, investors or house hackers looking for multifamily opportunities in a strong rental market. And Waltham is less ideal for people who crave peace and quiet and wide open space, families who need easy parking and low traffic errands, buyers on a tight budget who are getting priced out by competition, and anyone looking for a sleepy, slow-paced suburban enclave. I've had clients choose Waltham because they wanted that balance, close to Boston, great food, strong community, and good schools. But I've also had clients tour here and realize that they actually needed a quieter pace of Lexington or Arlington, or the more spacious feel of Needham or Wellesley. It really comes down to lifestyle fit. Waltham rewards people who lean into the energy and activity, but if it's not your vibe, it can feel like too much. So what about the long term? Is Waltham a smart investment? In my opinion, yes, with caveats. The city has continued to see strong appreciation over the past decade, and there's no sign of that slowing down. The biotech sector is stable, infrastructure investment is ongoing, and demand remains high. Compared to nearby towns, Waltham tends to appreciate at a similar rate to Watertown and Belmont, though not quite as aggressively as Newton or Brookline. But the entry point is lower, which means there's still room for growth. The key is understanding that Waltham's value is tied to its connectivity and economy. As long as Boston's innovation economy stays strong and companies continue investing in that Route 128 corridor, Waltham will hold its value. That said, if you're buying here purely as a financial play and you don't actually enjoy the lifestyle, you might be better off looking at communities with lower density and more space, places where quality of life doesn't require as much compromise. But if you're planning to live here, work here, and lean into everything that Waltham offers, it is a strong long-term play for buyers who want to stay connected to Boston's innovation economy without paying full city prices. So that's the full picture. Pros, cons, lifestyle fit, and long-term outlook. Waltham is a great city for the right buyer, but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. If you're planning a move in or around Boston and want help figuring out where you'll actually love living, not just where it looks good on paper, make sure you schedule a call with me and my team. We will walk you through neighborhoods, commute realities, and what to expect at every price point. All of our contact information is in the description below. And if you're comparing options, make sure to watch this video next, the best neighborhoods in Greater Boston for families. It will give you a full picture of how Waltham stacks up against the competition. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.